In this discussion, we will come to know about hereditary diseases. So what is the hereditary disease? Disease that gets transmitted through genes from one generation to the other is called a hereditary disease. Why is it important to know that this disease is a hereditary one or not? Now, even the modern medical science admits that for any chronic disease, there can be two factors responsible. Number one, the genetic factor. Number two, the exciting or environmental factor. But ironically, in modern system of therapy, there is no treatment available for the genetic factor causing disease. That means they cannot address if the cause is a genetic one. However, the alternating systems of therapy like homeopathy has a good scope for addressing such diseases. So we will come to know what is an hereditary disease, why it happens, what is the line of treatment homeopathy offers for hereditary disease, approximate duration of treatment. All these things with evidence today we will understand. So in a layman's language we can say most of the chronic diseases are the hereditary diseases. The founder of homeopathy, Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, is the first person in this world to bring this category of disease. After his research work on this concept, he has authored a book called The Chronic Disease. This is the book, The Theory of Chronic Diseases, Their Peculiar Nature and Their Homeopathic Cure. Besides this, also he has authored a book called Organ of Medicine. These are the books that every homeopath reads during his academy. So here also in several places he has mentioned about the chronic disease. In Organ of Medicine, in the aphorisms 84, footnote number 76 and 164 to sections 78 and 284 respectively, he has very well explained about the nature of chronic diseases. As per him, there is a chronic miasm. Miasm means it is a technical term used for explaining the disease susceptibility or the tendency to catch a disease. So these chronic miasms in the mother is responsible for the hereditary disorder in the child when the fetus is in the intrauterine state. And these could be treated by homeopathic remedy. Here I'll give you some more eminent homeopaths quotes. Dr. L. de Skepper writes in his intrauterine prescribing. He says that the allopathic drugs which must be given with extreme caution during pregnancy, while the remedies like homeopathic are ideal treatments for the pregnant woman. Here is a case example I have brought from Dr. C. Dunham. He is a famous homeopath of this century. He describes a case where one woman has given birth to 4 children having cleft palate, while the other woman has given birth to 8 children having cleft palate. Cleft palate is this condition where there is by birth the developmental difficulty will be there, developmental fault will be there. So there is a fissure in the upper lip. Sometimes this fissure extends up to the upper mouth itself. So in the modern system, we do not have any treatment for such cases. And it was happening repeatedly in those women. So he came back and he searched the embryology book and he found that This abnormality can occur at the 3rd month of pregnancy or before that. And the cause of this is the bone deficiency, and in other words, it is the calcium deficiency. So in homeopathy, for calcium deficiency, we can think of 3 remedies: calcarea carb, calcarea phos, and calcarea sulph. Now the question arises, out of which one is the remedy for that lady? So the woman with 8 such children were clearly a case of sulfur. She was a patient, sulfur patient. Sulfur was his constitutional remedy. So he tried calcarea sulph, and he given that calcarea sulph for 7 months during her gestation. And the next delivery, the child was very much normal. He repeated this in 3 other cases when the baby was in uterus and the children were born absolutely normal. This type of prescribing opens up possibilities which are still unknown in allopathic medicine and is a standing proof of Hahnemann's genius. There has been another stalwart called C.M. Boger, Dr. C.M. Boger. He says that why we think that homeopathy is adapted to wipe out inherited traits. Because he says that the scientists say a little grain of cell carries all the germs and chromosomes of the past. So nothing can touch that but the homeopathic remedy. That is why we can prove it scientifically. To his statement, there is a reply brought from Dr. H. Grimmer. He is also another eminent personality in the homeopathic world. He says that Dr. Boger always gives a splendid paper. Dr. Hahnemann had the perception that there was something beyond all the material things around. That is why homeopathy is. Homeopathy reaches to the mind and spirit of the life also. That is why homeopathy is vital and is capable of wiping out the inherited conditions or disorders. H. Grimmer, he is another eminent homeopath who said that geneticists have established the fact that many serious constitutional types of disease, both physical and mental, are transmitted by the way of genes through successive generations. Given some examples like psoriasis, keloid, persistent eczema, lichen planus, even with alcoholism, these are listed as incurable by the modern medical science. However, the new system of therapy, that is the homeopathy, is capable of addressing to such human sickness, which are the result of constitutionally inherited states and conditions of the disease. So these are the theoretical examples I have given, evidences I have presented. Now coming to some practical research work. In a recent study which has been conducted in Mumbai, India and USA for a prolonged duration of 7 years, several kids were being treated for the inherited diseases. And it was found there that 72% of these hereditary disorders can be cured with homeopathy. This research work has got published in HT Hindustan Times newspaper. It says that 72% are being cured. The diseases here they have taken mainly the autism, ADHD, Asperger's syndrome and Down syndrome and cerebral palsy like hereditary disorders, and the kids were treated there, and this is the result it has come. Right, so now we know what is a hereditary disease, and homeopathy has got a good scope for addressing such hereditary diseases. Next question is, are there any specific homeopathic remedy which are there to address such genetic disorders? Yes, of course. Homeopathy has got a different line of treatment to offer for genetic disorders. I'll quote first of all from the book, This is Robin Murphy's repertory. So in this book he says, in the Constitution chapter, page number 505, he writes the medicines here: inheritance, bad, defective constitution. If the constitutional problems or the miasmatic problems are being inherited, then these are the remedies: Baraitacar, Biforana, Calcarea floor, Carcinosin, Medorinum, Sorinum, Silesia, Syphilinum, and Tuberculinum. I can give you another quote from another book, that is the Homeopathic Treatment of Children, Pediatric Constitutional Types by Paul Herskue. So here in the chapter of Medorinum, in the page of 128, he says, the remedy Medorinum may eventually be needed for the child who is born into a psychotic family. It is not psychotic, it is psychotic. It is a type of homeopathic miasm, psychotic family, where categories of diseases come under this family. So the family history contains disease common to the miasm, such as gonorrhea, asthma, arthritis, angina, and heart attack. The family tree may begin with the disease of skin, which then progress from there to respiratory tract, then to the bones and then joints, and to the finally heart. So this is the importance of the family history that a homeopathy doctor takes while taking your case. If in the family history all these problems are there, accordingly a specific medicine is indicated which will cure the rest of the problems of the patient. So now this is also convinced that yes, homeopathy offers specific homeopathic treatments, medicines for the hereditary disease. Next question is, how I will know that the disease I am suffering from is of a hereditary origin or not? So there are two ways. Number one, just we can check our previous 2 to 3 generations, which will be in our knowledge or in our parents' knowledge, the major health problems happened to them, and whether our disease is the same as they had. That way we can rule out. And the number two is, in general, most of the chronic diseases, sometimes the disease of first generation appears in fifth generations again. That case, there may not be possible to say whether it was there or not, because it is more than 2-3 generations. So it is a general rule that if it is a chronic disease where the symptoms go and come again, recurrence happen despite of good medication, good lifestyle, then that also can be the hereditary disease, we can conclude. Next, how to know that the treatment what we are taking, how long will it take to complete? Ideally, we see that 6 months to 2 years is the duration of treatment of hereditary diseases under homeopathy. However, person to person, depending upon the personal profile, it varies. But it is important during the course of treatment to assess that I am improving. How do I assess that? Number one, if the symptoms from which I am suffering, I am feeling relief in that. Number two, the investigation procedures like the ultrasound, blood report, etc. That also gives us the confirmation whether we are improving or not. Clinically, we have found that in some cases there is symptomatic relief, but the investigation procedures do not collaborate accordingly. And the vice versa. Symptomatically there is no relief, but the investigation procedures show improvement. In such cases, in order to bring improvement in both the states, it may take further a longer duration for the patient and the doctor also. So this is all about the hereditary diseases. For more, log on to my website drmeeta.com, and for the regular health tips, you can visit my Facebook link, Dr. Meeta Clinic. Thank you.